Hi, I'm Presley. I never thought I'd be sitting in my living room staring at shattered windows and spray paint on my walls, all because I chose my health over a symbol. The engagement ring Jake gave me before things fell apart, that 2-carat diamond his mother Martha had practically forced into his hands, was worth enough to cover the surgery I desperately needed but couldn't afford. I still can't believe they did this, my best friend Olivia said, snapping photos of the damage. Her voice was tight with anger. This goes way beyond petty. The ring was technically mine, I replied, running my fingers through my hair. Jake gave it to me. We broke up 3 months ago, and I needed the money for my surgery. Olivia lowered her phone, her eyebrows raised. Did you ever tell him you were selling it? I tried. He wouldn't take my calls after he moved out. I even texted him about the surgery, but he just sent back good luck with that. What a jerk, Olivia muttered. But that still doesn't give his parents the right to trash your place. The doorbell rang, startling both of us. When I opened it, my neighbor Tina stood on the porch, concern etched across her face. Presley, I just got home from my night shift. What happened to your house? She peered past me at the destruction. Jake's parents, I said flatly. Tina's eyes widened. Martha and Richard? You're kidding me. I wish. Did you see anything? Tina nodded eagerly. Actually, yes. I was heading out last night around 11 and I saw their car parked down the street. That fancy black Lexus stands out around here. You're sure it was them? Olivia called from behind me. Positive, Tina replied. I actually waved at them, thinking they were visiting you or something. Martha was carrying some bag and Richard was looking around all suspicious-like. I thought it was weird, but I was running late for work. My stomach dropped. Did you see them actually doing anything to my house? No, but... Tina hesitated, chewing her lip. About 20 minutes later, I realized I'd forgotten my lunch. When I drove back, their car was still here, but they were both by your front yard. Martha was saying something like, "That'll teach her about family heirlooms." Did you call the police? Olivia asked. Tina looked down. I didn't know what was happening. I'm so sorry, Presley. I put my hand on her arm. It's not your fault, but would you be willing to tell the police what you saw? Of course, Tina nodded. I can't believe they'd do something like this. My phone buzzed with a text. Jake, it read. My mom told me what happened. You brought this on yourself. That ring was a family heirloom. As I showed the message to Olivia, her face hardened. He knew. He probably put them up to it. Or at least gave his blessing, I said, feeling a cold determination settle in my chest. Well, they're about to learn that actions have consequences. Detective Norris flipped through his notepad, glancing around my vandalized living room. And you're certain it was your ex-boyfriend's parents who did this? My neighbor saw their car and them outside my house last night, I explained. And then there's this. I handed him my phone with Jake's text message. The detective frowned as he read it. This doesn't explicitly admit involvement, but it certainly suggests prior knowledge. He looked up at me. Why would they damage your property over a ring? It was Martha's grandmother's engagement ring, I explained. Jake proposed with it last year. After we broke up, I sold it to pay for emergency gallbladder surgery. My insurance wouldn't cover it all. And you legally owned the ring? Detective Norris asked. Yes, I said firmly. It was a gift. I have text messages from when Jake gave it to me saying it was mine to keep forever. The detective nodded, continuing to take notes. We'll talk to your neighbor and see if there's any security camera footage in the area. The text from your ex is concerning. It shows he at least knew about it. After Detective Norris left, I called my friend Marcus, who worked at the jewelry store where I'd sold the ring. Hey, Presley, I heard about your place. That's messed up, Marcus said when he answered. Thanks. I need your help with something. Do you remember when I came in to sell Jake's grandmother's ring? Of course. Martha called the store 2 days later, screaming about stolen family property. My manager told her the transaction was completely legal. I sat up straighter. She called your store? You never told me that. Sorry, I didn't want to stress you out before your surgery. She threatened to sue us if we didn't tell her who bought it. Did you tell her? No way. That's confidential. But she was livid. Kept saying you had no right to sell it, that it belonged to their family. That's what Jake keeps saying too. I sighed. Would your manager be willing to speak to the police about that call? Definitely. She documented the whole thing because of the legal threats. Later that afternoon, I ran into Jake's friend Derek at the grocery store. Presley, he said awkwardly, blocking my path in the produce section. I heard about your place. Did Jake send you to check up on me? I asked coldly. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Look, I think what happened is wrong, but you've got to understand. That ring meant everything to Martha. It's been in their family for generations. So that justifies vandalizing my home? I grabbed a cucumber, squeezing it tightly. I'm not saying that, but what, Derek? I needed that money for surgery. I couldn't work. I was in pain. What was I supposed to do? You could have talked to them first. Martha would have bought it back. I laughed bitterly. The same Martha who blocked my number after Jake and I broke up? The same Martha who told me I wasn't good enough for her son? Derek looked down. They're not bad people, Press. Good people don't vandalize homes, I said firmly. And good friends don't defend those who do. When I got home, Olivia was waiting with takeout and a determined expression. I've been thinking, she said, laying out containers on my kitchen counter. We need to make sure they can't wriggle out of this. The police are investigating, I reminded her. Yes, but Martha and Richard have connections. Remember how they got Jake out of that DUI last year? I nodded slowly. So, what do you suggest? We gather everything. The jewelry store manager's statement, Tina's witness account, Jake's text messages, and we take it to their country club. The country club? Why? Olivia's eyes gleamed. Because Martha's on the board, and she values her reputation there more than anything. We don't make threats. We just make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of people they're associating with. Martha and Richard Ellison sat across from me in the police station conference room, their lawyer between them. Martha's perfectly highlighted hair was pulled into a tight bun, while Richard's expensive suit couldn't hide his nervous fidgeting. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Detective Norris began. We didn't do anything wrong, Martha snapped, her voice sharp and nasal. This is harassment. Mrs. Ellison, we have a witness who placed you and your husband outside Miss Carter's home the night it was vandalized, Detective Norris replied calmly. And we have footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera showing your vehicle. Richard cleared his throat. That doesn't prove. We also have record of you threatening the jewelry store where Miss Carter sold her ring, the detective continued. And paint residue matching the vandalism was found in your trash during our warranted search yesterday. Martha's face paled. This is ridiculous. That ring was a family heirloom. I leaned forward, meeting her eyes directly. It was given to me as a gift, Martha. What's ridiculous is destroying someone's home over a piece of jewelry. You had no right to sell it. Martha's voice rose. It wasn't just any ring, it was my grandmother's. And it was legally mine, I replied evenly. I needed surgery. What would you have had me do? You could have come to us, Richard interjected, his deep voice booming. We would have bought it back. I turned to him. Really? After you both blocked my number and told Jake I was just after your money? After Martha told me I wasn't good enough for your family? Their lawyer placed a hand on Martha's arm as she opened her mouth to respond. My clients are willing to pay for all damages to avoid charges, the lawyer stated smoothly. That's very generous, Detective Norris said. But the district attorney has already decided to pursue criminal charges based on the evidence. Martha's composure finally cracked. This is all a misunderstanding. We were upset about the ring, yes, but you decided to destroy my home instead of having an adult conversation, I finished for her. You spray-painted thief on my living room wall. We got carried away, Richard admitted, his shoulders slumping slightly. We're willing to apologize and make this right. I looked at him incredulously. Make this right? I had to stay with friends for a week. I'm still finding glass shards in my carpet. Presley, Martha said, suddenly switching to a pleading tone. We've known you for 3 years. You were going to be family. We reacted poorly, but surely we can move past this. Like you moved past me needing surgery? I asked quietly. Like you moved past me when Jake and I broke up? You've shown me exactly who you are, Martha. We're sorry. Richard tried again. Truly sorry. Sorry you got caught, I corrected. Not sorry you did it. That's not fair. Martha's voice rose again, her face flushing. You ungrateful little… Mrs. Ellison, Detective Norris interrupted sharply. I suggest you stop there. Martha stood abruptly, pointing at me. This isn't over. You think you can come after our family like this? Jake was right about you all along. Are you threatening Miss Carter? Detective Norris asked, his voice dangerously quiet. She's ruining our reputation, Martha shouted. We'll lose our position at the club, our standing in the community. You did that yourself, I replied calmly, though my heart pounded. Actions have consequences, Martha. You'll regret this, she hissed, even as her lawyer tried to pull her back into her seat. I'll make sure of it. All rise. Court is now in session, the Honorable Judge Wilson presiding, the bailiff announced. I smoothed down my skirt as I stood, feeling Olivia's reassuring presence beside me. Across the aisle, Martha and Richard sat with their lawyer, both looking significantly less polished than usual. After the proceedings began, the prosecutor called me to the stand. As I described finding my home vandalized, Martha stared daggers at me, while Richard studied his hands. And what impact has this had on you, Miss Carter? The prosecutor asked. I had to temporarily relocate. I've installed a security system I can barely afford, and I still don't feel safe in my own home, I answered honestly. During cross-examination, the defense lawyer tried to paint me as vindictive. Isn't it true you deliberately sold a family heirloom without consulting the Ellisons? He asked. I sold a ring that was legally mine to pay for necessary medical treatment, I replied firmly. I attempted to contact Jake beforehand, but he refused my calls. The verdict came swiftly. Martha and Richard were found guilty of criminal mischief and intimidation. The judge sentenced them to 6 months probation, community service, full restitution for damages, and a restraining order. As we filed out of the courtroom, Jake approached me in the hallway. Presley, he said, his voice low. Can we talk for a minute? Olivia moved protectively closer, but I nodded for her to give us space. What is it, Jake? You didn't have to take this so far, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. They're my parents. And they vandalized my home, I replied. What did you expect me to do? I expected you to be reasonable. That ring was important to my family. More important than my health? More important than basic human decency? Jake sighed heavily. Look, they're sorry. Really sorry. This whole thing has been a nightmare for everyone. Especially for me, I pointed out. I'm the one who had surgery, then came home to find my place destroyed. Can't we just put this behind us? He pleaded. For old time's sake? I studied his face. The same face I'd once thought I'd wake up to for the rest of my life. No, Jake. We can't. Your parents made their choice, and you made yours when you sided with them. Prez, come on. They're banned from their club, Dad's business is suffering, and I'm supposed to feel bad about that? I'm just asking for some compassion, Jake said, his voice hardening. You got what you wanted. They're paying for everything. What I wanted was to not have my home vandalized in the first place, I replied. What I wanted was a partner who would stand by me when I needed surgery, not one who'd ignore my calls, then blame me when his parents committed a crime. Jake's expression darkened. You always could hold a grudge. It's not a grudge, Jake. It's a boundary. 3 months later, Olivia, Tina, and I were celebrating the completion of my home repairs with a small dinner party. To new beginnings, Olivia toasted, raising her glass, and to justice served. I can't believe how good the place looks, Tina said, glancing around admiringly. You'd never know what happened. The outside, maybe, I said. But I still know. Have you heard anything from them? Tina asked carefully. Martha sent a formal apology letter. Her lawyer probably wrote it, I replied. And I got a job offer from a company across town. Turns out the CEO is on the same country club board. Nice, Olivia grinned. Karma works in mysterious ways. Speaking of which, I said, pulling out my phone, look what Marcus sent me. I showed them a photo of the ring, now reset into a beautiful pendant. Is that? Tina asked. The original diamond, yes. The person who bought it decided to sell it back to the store. Marcus gave me first refusal at a discount. I touched the empty space at my neck. I'm picking it up tomorrow. Are you sure you want that reminder? Olivia asked gently. I nodded firmly. It's not a reminder of Jake or his family anymore. It's a reminder that I stood up for myself. Detective Norris, who'd also joined us, raised his glass. To standing up for yourself and to making sure actions have consequences. What do you think, friends? I asked, looking around at the people who'd stood by me. When someone shows you who they are, do you believe them the first time? Or do you wait for them to prove it again? Have you ever had to deal with someone who refused to take responsibility for their actions? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below.